Hello, my creative friends. I'm Heather North from heatherscreativeblessings.com. Last week, during the Stamp of Approval Lovely Notes collection release, I shared these cards with you, as well as a video. And as I was putting away the cards, or the different bits and pieces that were left over, a card idea came to mind. I thought, what if I used the little bits, the little chevron bits, and made my own pattern paper? So I ran those little bits through my Xyron sticker maker, and then I cut, there's a Xyron sticker maker, you just put it in and pull them out, and I die cut a piece of Whisper White cardstock out of the concentric circles die, that frame die, and I also cut a little piece, a scalloped piece out of the leftover sponged technique piece. And so I'm going to put all of these together on a card, but first I'm going to start with my background, my card base. I have here some Nina Solar White cardstock, and that might have been what I used before. I'm not sure which one, but I'm using the thicker cardstock, whether it's the Stampin' Up! Or the Nina. And it's a standard card base, 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2, and folded at 5 1/2. And then I just used a large Post-it note to mask the back of my card. I'm going to be doing my sponging on a Ranger craft sheet. It's a really slick sheet. So I just start off in a swirling motion on the craft sheet and then swirl it onto my cardstock, and I get a much smoother blend. Okay, so my fingers get inky and I have a little ink blotch there, but I'm going to cover it up. There was ink on the sponge as I was changing out the sponges. But what I'm doing is I'm going between these two colors, the Twisted Citron and the Cracked Pistachio, back and forth until I get a blend that I like. And then I'm also going to add in some peacock feathers. Now this card is mostly a green card base. So the peacock feathers is a little bit more blue, a blue-green. And I chose to do mostly green because that little tiny scallop piece that I die cut had mostly blue, mostly that Mermaid Lagoon from my first technique piece. So I wanted to make sure it would pop, and that's why I chose to use green. I was a mess on this card, and I got ink splotches on the inside of my card. And instead of just trying to cover it up, I decided to make it work for me in my design. So I picked up some ink with my mini ink blending tool, and I just squished and swirled into my cardstock a little bit. I started with, I think it was Cracked Pistachio, and then here is the peacock feathers, the same colors I used on the front. And I just think these little circles are fun, you know, it's like bubbles or balloons or something. And since it's going to be a birthday card, I thought, why not? I'm going to end up cutting another one of these journal tags, and I'll put that on the inside so I can write on it. But I could also just use black ink and write over the top of those ink colors. For my stamping, I pulled out the Misty because I am going to try a technique I saw Catherine Pooler use on her video last week. She did an ombre effect with this stamp, and I thought it would just be gorgeous with all the different colors that I'm using. So this is Fill in the Blank's birthday. It says happy birthday to my brilliant, fabulous, and amazing. And then there's this blank spot where you can add in so many different things. As you can see over to the left there are just a ton of different words you can use, like teacher, friend, best, mom, mother, dad, sister. You get the picture. There are a lot of different people you can send this to. So I'm going to send this, or not send this, I'll give this to my son. I'm going to end up putting son down there. But I'm just going to start by picking up that stamp. And you'll notice I put the magnets really close to the stamp itself, and that helps the cardstock stay in place below. I'm going to take the Twisted Citron ink, and I just inked it up, and then I'm going to ink it up a second time. Distress ink doesn't always have the best stamping. It's great for techniques, but stamping it twice really helped with this piece here. And then I'm going to take Mermaid Lagoon. It's very close to the Coastal Cabana color that I love but has been discontinued. And I'm just going to ink up the Brilliant and stamp it down. Then I'm going to ink up the Brilliant again, and I got too much on that little circle. I didn't want that to turn blue. So I just used my little absorber and wiped it off. And then I'm going to ink it up one more time with the Mermaid ink on the Brilliant. and the Twisted Citron on the top and bottom, and this will really help those colors blend together. And I noticed the birthday still had some splotchiness because of that Distress ink, and by doing it this many times, it just looks gorgeous. It looks like it's supposed to be that way. So thank you, Catherine, for the tips I used on this card. I really like this ombre look. And like I said earlier, I'm going to use Sun in the bottom there, and my fingers are really inky, and I didn't want to touch my paper and ruin it. So I'm using the tip of the scissors to get it into proper position. And then I'm just going to ink it up in some Bermuda Bay ink. Isn't that super cool? I just love it. It looks great just on its own on that card. But since I had that scallop die cut, I just took some snail adhesive along the side of my white cardstock, and then I lined up the scallop die piece with my grid mat, and then pressed the white piece on top of it, and there you can see it. Now I'm going to make that pattern paper that I had in mind. I take the sticky sheet that's on top and just peel it back on itself, and then I'm going to take my little chevrons and start making that paper idea that I had. I'm just positioning them randomly in different directions all over the cardstock, and as I'm doing this, I'm hating it. It did not turn out at all the way I expected. The chevron stamping turned out better than I expected. This part, not so much. So I was glad that I had used the repositionable adhesive, because I'm able to just peel all of those little pieces off, and I can try that idea on a different card. It's just not working for me on this one. So I'm going to pop it up with some foam tape, and I guess I could have left my mistakes out, but look, there's another one. I accidentally cut into my scallop with my scissors when I was cutting the overhang of the foam tape. I tell you, the reason I left these mistakes in here and these course corrections in here is because I think it's important for you to know that even experienced stampers mess up, or things don't go right, or we have to fix things. That's just part of stamping and the fun of experimenting. I have these little leftover chevrons, and I'm just trying to decide where I want to place them, how I want to place them. I ended up grabbing the one that already had sticky on it. And I'm going to cut little slivers of the foam tape, so the part that's popping off of my journal tag will have a little more depth and dimension. I'm just going to remove all of those backings, and I will adhere this to my card. You saw there I took one of the chevrons and added it to the front of my tag, and I think just the one little bitty chevron along with that positive die on the top works well for me. I just keep trying to make those little chevrons work, and they're not working for me today. So that is my card. I am going to put another journal tag on the inside and write a note to my son, and that will complete my card. I hope that you liked it. If you do, give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. If you want to see more of the cards that I made for the lovely Notes Stamp of Approval collection release, be sure and check out my Stamp of Approval playlist here on YouTube. And I will have links and descriptions and all of that on my blog and down below. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a great day. Bye.